Can you talk about how our history of auto-centricity has affected housing in America?
Yeah, I would definitely say that autocentricity has led to where the housing is in America historically. So where the highways are, that's where we build the neighborhoods. And historically, most of the workforce was centered around the downtown area, but then the higher income people lived a little bit further out in the suburbs, and that's how the suburbs came about. But now everyone wants to be closer to the city, so that's where we see the gentrification coming, and now those places that were closer to the city are more sought after. And so as transportation develops and we get more buses, rails, even Uber and Lyft, things like that, people are moving back towards the city centers. And so even today, autocentricity affects the housing for sure.
Right. Do y'all think that autocentricity has affected zoning in any sort of ways? Like I think about residential zones versus sort of city centers. I'm wondering if y'all have thoughts on that as well.
Absolutely. I think that what you'll see is a lot of those commercial areas, whether strip malls or just big shopping malls, those are going to be on those larger, whether it's an interstate or you want to call it an arterial type of street or road. That's where you're going to see a lot of that commercial pop up, whereas you're going to have to drive a little bit in order to get to the more residential areas where you have lesser traffic. And then, yeah, I mean, you might say the same of various industrial locations. They might either be right on that major interstate or they may be quite a ways off in order to prevent them from being right there in everyone's face as they're driving by.
And I can speak to that too. Another factor that is largely impacting development in this country are parking minimums. Every development is required to provide a minimum amount of parking spaces based on a very nebulous kind of calculation. It's been proven that there's not really any math behind the calculations for how many spaces are needed for different uses. And if you look through a lot of codes, you'll see 100 different types of uses, and they'll all have different requirements on what somebody thinks that the required parking spaces are. And that prevents development from occurring if they can't meet the amount of parking or if they need to create parking spaces where housing could have been. So that takes away from potential units. So I mean, parking minimums were created because of our auto-centric country. It kind of came to be after World War II when everybody was, this is again back to the GI Bill. People could afford starter homes. People could afford cars. We now had interstate systems. So that really led to the need for parking minimums, and we're still dealing with that today. For the last 20 years, we've been kind of seeing that it's hurtful to our development now that housing has become a crisis. So one of the many tools we have to try to correct that.